Hello there. Welcome to my podcast. My name is Jaymz Bee. Every Friday, I'm having these little interviews, telling you what's happening in the clubs. And the interview today, it ain't little. It's a big interview with an amazing woman, one of the friendliest people in Canada, according to his survey. She's a TV director, a philanthropist. She's got so many talents, and we're going to find out all about Helen Hatzis. If you wonder, what does surfing, what does autism, what does Madonna and AC/DC, what do they all have in common? Helen Hatzis. She's coming up in just a bit. I want to thank my sponsors, especially you. If you go to Patreon, you can sponsor this, and some people do, and it means a lot to me. So thank you to everyone who sponsors this show. If you do sponsor this show, be sure to contact the other sponsors of this show and tell them that you support me. Barbarian Steakhouse, 7 Elm Street. It is delicious in there, and it's a gorgeous little restaurant, 7 Elm Street, just up from Yonge Dundas Square. And tell Aaron Barbarian you love the podcast and you support it. If you go to barberfinancial.com, another sponsor, let them know. Say, hey, I have some financial questions. I support Jaymz Bee's podcast. What can you do for me? And of course, if you don't support this podcast by Patreon, call them anyway and go for dinner and get some financial help. I want to move into some clubs right now. There's so much going on in town. Old Mill Toronto's Homesmith Bar, every Friday and Saturday, they have great music. Really high-end jazz. And Nancy Walker is there tonight from 7:30 to 10:30. Her husband, Kieran Overs, is a very famous bass player. I remember him from albums I bought when I was a kid, and they are playing beautiful music together with Sharantha Bettigay, who is an amazing baritone sax player, Juno Award winner, and Mark Mark Micklethwaite. I've known that guy a long time. I don't know why I had trouble on his name today. He's a great drummer. So that's happening tonight. Tomorrow, Andrew Scott, a guitar hero extraordinaire. He's playing with John Mayer on bass and Norbert Botosh on drums. Norbert Botosh is drummer Frank Botosh's son, Robbie Botosh's nephew, Joseph Botosh's cousin. Anyway, that whole family, they're kind of amazing. So you can see young Joseph on the drums, and that's all happening at Old Mill Toronto Homesmith Bar tomorrow night. So Friday or Saturday, can't go wrong over there. No cover, $20 minimum. Hughes Room Live, Someday Junos continues. This is a really cool idea. It's a series they've been doing for over a week now, and it's all young singer-songwriters who should be super famous. Now, Missy Bowman is there tonight. She's got simple, classic-sounding, original folk tunes. Beautiful voice on her. And a composer named Jordan Paul. I love this guy's voice. His production's really cool, and I think I need to go out and buy his music. Never heard of him before, so thank you, Hughes Room Live, for going out there and finding some stuff. Whenever I see young musicians I've never heard of, I am humbled, because I go out and I try to see as much as I can, but Toronto is an embarrassment of riches. A few other things happening at Hughes Room Live. Sherry Ulrich is there. It's her 9th studio album on Borealis, and she's there on Tuesday. And Wednesday, I'm going to give this the most interesting show of the week in Toronto listing. It is something really, really special. Robbie Botosh, Joseph Botosh, George Kohler, Nenad Bogdanovich, and they're called Romani Jazz. They're joined by Drew Dureka on the violin, and I tell you, this Romani Jazz, you know, people call it gypsy jazz, jazz manouche, hot club. Well, how about hearing it by people who actually are of Romani descent? Because this is thick, beautiful, Romanish folk music mixed with jazz, and it's absolutely amazing. So that's probably going to be something you don't want to miss. In fact, Nenad's voice is so incredible, it'll move you to tears. It's something really, really special. What else is happening here? Oh, on the 8th, Ori Dagan is doing the Rat Pack tribute show with Donovan Locke and Stephen Tates. So 3 wonderful male vocalists singing songs of the Rat Pack on August 8th. All the listings and all the info at hughesroomlive.com. Over at Jazz Bistro, Payadora Tango Ensemble. There I go again. This is so amazing. How much world music and jazz there is in Toronto these days. It seems to be the thing, and I love it. Payadora Tango Ensemble. This is classical meets jazz. Elbio Fernandez is their guest on this show. And it's another one of those just beautiful romantic concerts. So if you have a date and you want a beautiful dinner and an amazing show, jazzbistro.ca. And what else is happening? That's tonight. Tomorrow, August 2nd, Robbie Botosh. Wow, man, the whole family's busy this week. And he's on that gorgeous Pops Steinway, that red Steinway that lives at the Jazz Bistro. One of the nicest pianos in the city, no doubt. Not sure who he's playing with yet, but for God's sake, it's Robbie Botosh. Just get your tickets. It's going to sell out. Lula Lounge, Havana Club Friday, always happening. Salsa Saturday, totally jammed. Major dance parties where you'll meet really friendly people. And Sunday is their annual Sunday afternoon carnival barbecue. Don't forget, this is like big festival time here in town, and Carabana is going to be a major party this weekend. So they also have a late night party, an after party, 9:30 p.m. to 2 a.m. on a Sunday. Sounds like Carabana to me. And the One Nation Rebel is entertaining the partiers. That's the band playing late at night. They've also got Speaker Slam this week on Tuesday, Carrie Shields telling stories, playing music on Thursday, and all the listings, lula.ca. Now, just a quick note about festivals before I bring my exciting guest up. Toronto Carabana is on. There's an Elvis festival in Picton. That's new to me. Collingwood. Elvis used to live in Collingwood, but I don't know. Somehow they're doing something in Picton. Sounds cool. Taste of India Food Festival is in Little India. I hope to get back into town Sunday night to eat that yummy food. I'm off at a wedding this weekend, and the Electric Eclectics Festival is this weekend in Meaford. That's a freaky festival. You'll want to go to electric-eclectics.com to get information. Don't worry if you've never heard of any of these people. It's performance art, it's installation art, there's some live bands. It is a freak party for about 400 people on the side of a mountain, and it's a lot of fun. Think Burning Man Year 2. Anyway, it's very fun. That's a crazy festival. And a Mississauga Latin Festival. Anyway, so many festivals. I want to move on because my guest is going to be coming in the door any minute. This is the first time I've ever had a guest in this room that I've heard of for years, but I've never actually met her, and she's going to be here. So that's kind of exciting for me. I've never done this. Usually I invite people I've known for a while, but this is going to be cool. She received a Governor General's Award for her extensive charity work. She's directed TV, and she is a rock and roll strategist. She's worked with Madonna, AC/DC, and other big names. She's also got a daughter who's following in her footsteps, doing some beautiful things. So, she's got one hell of a story. Let's go right now. Helen Hatzis.
Hi, James.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. So tell me before anything,
Sure.
because I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about your past and crazy things.
No.
But first, the present, Aloha Toronto.
Yes.
You started an intern. Can you first describe the organization and then how it came about?
Sure. So Aloha Toronto is a completely volunteer-run organization that takes children and adults on the autism spectrum into the water through SUP activities, which is stand-up paddling. That's essentially what we do. It's a one-day free, and I want to stress free, camp, and any money that we do raise, any money that's left over from sponsorship or monies that we raised from t-shirt sales goes directly to a fund that we recently started through Autism Ontario called the Aloha Toronto Fund, which I could tell you about later.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, aloha, we know that is love, right?
Yeah.
It means hello, it means goodbye, it means love.
So many positive things, yeah. And we called it that because, we're bringing aloha to Toronto, and we wanted to bring, that amazing feeling that stand-up paddling does for just an individual, like normal, whatever normal is, how it makes an average person feel. We wanted to share that with the autism community. And there's a whole backstory as to how that all came about as well.
Well, that's what I'm interested. How did you find out that being on the ocean and being active like that, how did you find out that marriage with autism?
So interesting, I give full credit to my friend Izzy and his wife Danielle Paskowitz. They're the ones who started it. So how it started for us, to bring it to Toronto, was that in 2009, I wanted to take my daughter surfing because I love the sport, and I thought we might as well start her young. She was 4.5. And so we flew all the way to San Diego because a couple of years prior to that, I had met this really interesting nomadic man named Doc Paskowitz, who is a legendary surfer. He died a few years ago at the age of 93 and surfed pretty much up until the day he died. And so he started a surf camp, and that's why we went to San Diego. And while we're at this surf camp in San Diego, in the middle of the week, they stopped it to try out this thing called Surfers Healing. And I had no idea what this was. I never heard of it before, and I was introduced to it on the spot. And what it is, because it's in its 20th, I believe it's 20th year, Izzy has a son. He has 3 kids, but one of his children, Isaiah, is on the spectrum. He, the lower end of the spectrum. And so he's somewhat verbal, but does not carry on a normal conversation. He needs a lot of prompts and will say, a few phrases and words. And when he was little, he used to have a lot of what we would exhibit as tantrums. And it was just, these like meltdowns because it was just an overload, like a sensory overload.
Life was an overload, yeah.
Yeah. And so his dad, just one day at a surfing competition, picked him up and threw him in the water, which a lot of people would think, oh my God, that is kind of crazy, a little abusive, as even Izzy would say. But for some reason, it calmed little Isaiah at the time, he's now in his 20s, calmed him right down. And then Izzy threw him on his surfboard, or placed him rather at this point, and they paddled out and took a couple of waves. And Isaiah was a completely different kid. So it was something about the water that just completely calmed him down. And
maybe particularly the ocean or water in general?
No, I think the water in general, because water is a life form. It's a whole other planet. And so there's vibrations and all these other wonderful things that go on when you are in the water that a child or individual with autism will experience far more greater than we do, because they experience things on such a greater level.
Right, and technically you're in nature.
Yeah.
In a way, rather than
exactly,
concrete and buildings. Like it's like lying down in the grass. You don't do that very often. But swimming, you're surrounded by nature.
Right. I mean, people say you need to, go forest bathing. What the hell's forest bathing? It's like taking your socks off, your shoes off, and just walking, with like your feet on the grass, and it's supposed to make you feel just
grounding.
Grounded, exactly. So, I saw this happening, in San Diego, and at first I thought, oh my God, this is a little crazy because the kids are kicking and screaming. It's like trying to get a kid in a bathtub, but once you get them out there or in there, they don't want to come out.
Yeah.
And the pinnacle moment for me was when this one kid who was nonverbal actually said the word "Mummy" more. And the mom started crying. I started crying because I wear my heart on my sleeve. I cry a lot. And I just thought, oh my God. And Izzy was there, and I turned to him and I said, we have to bring this to Toronto. And he said, just tell me when you're ready. So it took me about 3 years just to kind of take it all in, figure out, because I wasn't even part of the stand-up paddle community. We don't have a lot of surfing, on a regular basis, and it's usually in the winter months, and that wouldn't be fun for people to go in the water in the winter. So 3 years later, we started the first ALHOA Toronto, and Izzy and his crew, Surfers Healing, that's what his organization is called, came out for the first couple of years to get us going, and we've been doing it ever since, and now it's our 8th year.
So tell me about the event coming up.
Oh my gosh, 8 years in, the Balmy Beach Club, which is a legendary club in the Toronto beaches, has been our host for the past 6 years because we're trying to find the best spot. They're amazing. It's the perfect location. It's nice and quiet, and it's the same old, same old. We keep things routine so that the participants coming back know what to expect, and it's the same people who come back every year, the volunteers. So it's friendly, familiar faces. It's the routine, and what we do is we have them come first thing in the morning. Everyone has a time slot. They spend about half an hour in the water with a stand-up paddle instructor, and these are competitive Canadian paddlers, some of them, going on to the Pan Am Games or these crazy competitions. And then we just spend like I and myself as well, we're in the water all day. And we just give them the experience of just being out in the quiet, on the water, splashing about.
Cool.
And,
Where do people get information on this?
So we have a website which we use as an information portal, but we really want to direct people. So that's ALHOAToronto.com, but we really want people directed to our Facebook page because we update that regularly.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just ALHOA Toronto on Facebook. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned your daughter. She's up to some extraordinary things. How old is she now?
Oh my gosh, she's 14 and a half.
So tell me about her site and what she's been up to.
Sure. Oh my gosh. Thanks. Okay. That's great. Yeah. So Bella is my daughter, and she has an organization that she started when she was 5 called Bella's Bake Sale. And how it started was she read a book by Craig Kielburger that I happened to get when I was with a friend who had to stop into, at the time, which was called Free the Children. I stopped in and went to a meeting with him, and they asked me, oh, do you have any kids? And, through the context of the conversation, it was towards the end, and they were like, why don't you give this to her? And it was this animated version of how Craig Kielburger started Free the Children, which is now called We. I brought it to Bella. She was reading at the time. She was almost 4, and she proclaimed, I want to do a bake sale. And I was like, okay. It was the beginning of the summer. And then I just kind of let it go because it was cute. And I just thought, okay, if she wants to do it, my kid, if she wants to do something, she'll let you know. And then the end of the summer was approaching and she was about to start school. And then she said, Mommy, we have to do the bake sale. And I totally forgot about it. Totally forgot. And I was like, what bake sale? And she said, the bake sale for the kids. I have to build a school because I get to go to school and there's kids who can't go to school and that's not fair. And that's where it started.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know, it's crazy. And now she's in her 10th year of doing a bake sale, and her goal is to build a school for every year she's in school. And now in her 10th year, she wants to build 10 schools, which means she's trying to raise $100,000 in a year starting in September. Yeah, and I'm trying to raise just less than 10,000 for Aloha, and I'm like freaking out.
That's
But you know
awesome.
what? But I don't discourage her. You know why? Because anything is possible, right? Anything is possible. You got to go for it.
So, but it might also be that she sees what you're doing and realizes philanthropy is not a bad idea, right?
Yeah, and you know what? People say that, and I think, I look at my mom and my dad, and my dad, managed this massive glass factory. I never wanted to go into that. And my mom, made beautiful draperies. That's what I noticed, when I came in. And I never wanted to get into that. So I never thought, that I had any kind of influence on her. But I think she does see, okay, Mom likes to do this kind of stuff, and it is a good thing. And she just found something that was important to her, and she wanted to do something about it, as opposed to just acknowledging, well, that's something interesting. No, that's something interesting that I want to do something to make a difference.
Right.
And that's.
So maybe she'll get an award for one of the nicest people in Canada. Canada's 150th anniversary, Roots listed you as one of the nicest. One of the nicest people. Yeah. Now you're not the nicest person in Canada. Apparently you're not the nicest person.
No.
But only because your top 10 is pretty good.
That's so nice how that even happened. I don't even know how that happened.
I was going to say.
I don't know, but somebody. I guess
before Aloha, you've already been awarded for all of your charity work in the past, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and now let's go back further, because how do you describe what you did in the music industry?
Oh my gosh.
It's like coach, marketing.
I was in the Ontario sales department, so there was marketing involved. Because we worked with the marketing department. It was great because we worked with pretty much every department, because we were the hub for for sales essentially. Mm-hmm. And so sales promotion, we had 2 promo reps in our department who worked very closely with the bands, and sometimes I had that opportunity. Working with my colleague Ken Green, working an AC/DC show, or God, there are so many, but that's the one that really sticks out in my mind. And
why AC/DC?
Because I didn't expect them to be these really humble. I mean, everybody should be really. Like, why do we put them on these crazy pedestals? But
No, but some people come in with the tude.
yeah, no, you're 100% right, and we've had that experience, of course. But they had their family with them. You know, not every single member, but you know, a lot of their close family was there. They were signing autographs forever, like before and after the show, and they were just all about their fans, and I just found that really heartwarming.
And how about Madonna?
I worked with her just briefly, but I got to go. It was the Ray of Light tour, and I got to go see her at Much Music, and you know, there was an opportunity to, you know, just have some casual conversation with her, and I thought she was pretty cool, actually.
How did you get into a job like that?
I came from a background of filmmaking, and I was directing music videos, and I was working in film, and a friend who grew up on my street was working there, and I was looking for something, you know, more 9 to 5, oddly enough, because working in film and music videos, you're like all over the place, and I was burning out.
Right, you can work 20 hours a day,
Yeah.
and then not work for 3 months after that.
No, it's true. And so I just wanted something a little more, not stable, but just like routine. And that's how I started, and I lasted for 13 years because I really loved it. And I loved the people, I loved the experience, I loved being around creative people.
Was this a private company or a
It was at
government?
Warner Music.
Oh, Warner, okay.
Yeah, I was at Warner Music, from the formative years of my life.
And then the producing and directing of TV, and where did you study? Where did that start?
I started at, I was an English major at Glendon, which is part of York. It's the bilingual campus. I'm not very good at French. But anyway, I started there, and I was directing theater with this amazing dramaturge named Svetlana Zylan, who actually let me be her assistant director, which is not common in the theater world. You're either the director, and I mean, that's it. But she saw how much passion I had, and she took me under her wing and helped me direct scenes. And I directed a few plays on my own at Glendon, and the manager of the Black Box Theater, this really cool guy, but I remember he had this like jet black long hair, kind of vampire-ish, and he kind of freaked me out sometimes, but he pulled me aside and he said, "You need to be in film school, because this Black Box Theater it's inhibiting your creativity." And I just thought, wow, okay. So I ended up going to USC for a year. That's all I could afford. And it was phenomenal. And then I went to Vancouver Film School, and it was great because I just got, you know, quick hands-on, you know, within 10 months experience. Like, it's all production focused, and then I came back and I started working right away.
And USC, did you have any lecturers or people who came in? Because I know they're famous for blowing minds, right?
So I was there in the 90s. So Lethal Weapon was a big movie that, you know, at the time. And Richard Donner came in to talk to us about why he
Who also did RoboCop, yeah?
RoboCop, yeah. And then Ron Howard came by to talk about Final Draft. And, hey, is that Steven Spielberg over there? Or is that George Lucas? Yeah, I never, like, you know, I never really got to talk to those two, but with Richard Donner and Ron Howard. Yeah. I just said his name. What's his name? Yeah, it was really exciting to talk to people who are in the industry, and it no matter what, it's hard for anyone, even if, you know, like Ron Howard grew up in the industry, it was still a hard transition for him. So it was just great to hear, you know, their story and how they kind of, you know, prepare to, you know, and creatively how they organize a film shoot. I don't know. It was
Do you still have passion to go back and do that sometime?
Yes. Yeah, I'll never let that go. It's just I have such a philanthropy is very important to me, and helping others, and that has taken over. And I mean, there's always room for other stuff, but I just go where my heart takes me. And that's how life has always been. I've never really applied for a job or anything. I just kind of go where, you know.
Do you have any fundraisers for ALHOA Toronto? Do you do events like that?
You know what? It's generally me, and then any volunteer who is available, because everybody has full-time jobs. And traditionally, we don't normally need to fundraise. We've been given money, but because of cutbacks, we didn't get any money this year. So we're not scrambling, but we're getting everybody together, rallying, you know, the community to raise money. And we do the event so inexpensively, and thank God, because we're all volunteers, we don't have a lot of overhead. Like literally the event costs $5,000. And so that's what we're raising money for. We're doing a party at the Balmy Beach Club. It's a big Hawaiian party, and we want people to dress up in their Hawaiian garb. And that's a week Friday, so the 9th of August. And, you know, a DJ is coming for free. Like, I've really opened up. I hate asking people for help. I'd rather give help. Like, it actually gives me anxiety to ask people for help. So asking people for money is really hard for me, super hard, but it's not about me. It's about the kids and the 125 families that we impact every single year. And that's what I keep focusing on. And these families have been impacted by the cuts, and we're one of very few free events where they could come out and be around like-minded people who are going through the same thing. So it's not just a day of stand-up paddling and, you know, it's a day at the beach, it's a day of meeting other families, it's a day of camaraderie.
Right.
So, and I don't want to stop that, you know?
August 9th it is.
Yeah.
I will be there, and I bet a lot of other people will be too.
I certainly hope so, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I love what you're doing.
Thank you
Thanks for
so
visiting.
much for your time. I
Hey.
really appreciate this and your
Thanks
support.
for your time. Cheers.
I love you.
Oh my, that was something, wasn't it? So, Helen Hatzis, my hat's off to you. And if you need more information, you know where to go. Thanks so much for watching. Join me next week when I have another super important, fun guest that you may or may not have heard of. Bye.